What if I told you that your entire destiny could shift with one decision? A decision made when the world is still asleep. A decision that starts at 5 a.m. The most powerful people on this planet are not defined by luck or talent. They are defined by their daily disciplines. And it all begins before the sun rises. If you keep sleeping through 5 a.m., you're sleeping through your calling. Wake up. It's time to take back your life. Time is the currency of destiny. Time is the currency of destiny. Every single second you waste, you're spending what can never be refunded. Time doesn't apologize when it's gone. It doesn't come back to check if you're ready. And the truth is, many people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they mishandle time. You can recover money. You can rebuild a business. You can even repair broken relationships. But you cannot reclaim time once it's lost. Let me tell you something that changed my life. Every great person you admire, from leaders, inventors, authors, visionaries, they all had one thing in common. They didn't wait for time. They worked within it. They woke up early. They honored the morning. They moved when others were motionless. You can't be a late riser and expect an early reward. You can't waste time and then cry about missing your opportunity. Time rewards those who respect it. When you understand that time is the currency of destiny, you'll treat your mornings like gold. You won't sleep through your moment. You won't let the clock run your life. You'll run the clock. That's why 5 a.m. is not just a number. It's an altar of greatness. It's when you invest the best of yourself before the world demands the rest of you. You rise before the distractions, before the emails, before the noise. It's the moment where your destiny is still untouched and your future is still listening. There's a reason the wealthiest and most productive people on earth are early risers. It's not just about work, it's about warfare, spiritual, mental, emotional warfare. They win the war before breakfast. They align their thoughts, set their focus, and attack the day with intention. They use time like a sword, not like a pillow. While most are still under their blankets, successful people are writing in journals, planning their goals, exercising their bodies, feeding their minds. They are building while others are snoring. Look around you. Life is not waiting for you to feel ready, it's moving. Opportunities are not parked on the street waiting for you to get dressed. They are flying by the minute. The question is, are you on board? Or are you still pressing snooze? I remember a man who worked a night shift cleaning offices. He had a dream of becoming a professional chef. Every night, after scrubbing toilets and mopping floors, he would go home, sleep for 2 hours, and wake up at 5 a.m. to read cookbooks, watch food tutorials, and practice his skills. Everyone told him he was crazy. They told him to sleep. But he told them, if I sleep now, I'll be tired forever. 5 years later, he owns one of the most booked restaurants in his city, not because he had more talent, but because he used the currency of time to purchase his future. Time is expensive. Every second you spend on the wrong thing is time stolen from the right thing. Think of your time like a banker. Every morning at 5 a.m., you get a fresh deposit, A6 400 seconds. You can spend it building, learning, praying, planning, or you can waste it scrolling, complaining, and wishing. But you can't do both. Let me be real with you. The difference between those who win and those who whine is time management. A lazy morning creates a chaotic day. A disciplined morning creates a structured life. You don't need a miracle. You need a morning routine. One that tells your mind, we are in charge today. One that tells your future, I'm coming for you. One that tells your past, you can't hold me anymore. So why 5 a.m.? Because that's when the world is quiet. It's when your ideas can speak louder than the noise. It's when you can meditate without interruption. It's when you stop reacting and start designing. The morning is the seat of mastery. The earlier you rise, the more control you seize. If you wake up with purpose, the day obeys you. If you wake up late, you chase the clock. Chasing the clock is a poor man's game. People keep asking, how do I change my life? I tell them, change your morning. You'll never shift your future staying in the same pattern. The bed might feel good, but it's not your reward, it's your prison. Get up, not just to exist. Get up to command, to conquer, to create. When you start valuing your time like gold, life begins to pay you in results. You can either spend your life saying, I wish I had more time, or you can rise with the ones who are winning with the same 24 hours you waste. Time is the great equalizer. The only difference is how you spend it. You are not behind, you are just misaligned. Align with the morning, align with intention, align with excellence. And don't ever forget, every second has a price tag. Every morning is a down payment on your dream. And every day you wake up late, someone else is using your blessing on time. Silence breeds strategy in a world that is addicted to noise. Silence has become the rarest form of power. At 5 a.m., when everything is still, when the traffic hasn't started, when social media is still asleep, when notifications haven't begun to ring, that's when the mind is most alive, most open, most fertile. The silence of the early morning isn't emptiness. It's a strategic advantage. While others are buried under distractions, the successful are cultivating clarity in the stillness. That silence is not your enemy, it is your boardroom. It's the only place where your inner voice isn't drowned by the volume of the world. People often ask, why do I feel confused? Or why can't I hear what I'm supposed to do next? The truth is, it's not that direction isn't available. It's just that you're too loud inside, too busy trying to keep up with everybody else's noise. But when you rise early, when you step into that sacred silence of 5 a.m., that's when the noise dies and the wisdom speaks. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of focus. It's the place where clarity meets courage. It's where your vision stops being blurry and starts becoming blueprint. Every visionary you've ever read about, every genius, innovator, or disruptor had moments in silence before they had moments in history. They withdrew not because they were hiding, but because they were strategizing. And that strategy couldn't be born in the chaos of constant noise. When you wake up early, before the city starts breathing, you enter a dimension where your thoughts are loud and your fears are small. That's where real strategy begins, not when you're stressed and reacting, but when you're calm and commanding. I remember hearing the story of a woman who started $1 million business from her kitchen table. No investors, no office, no rich uncle, just a vision and discipline. She had 3 kids and worked 2 jobs. But every morning before the sun came up, she would sit alone in her quiet living room, coffee in hand, and write out her business plans. No background music, no distractions, just silence, her mind, and her mission. She told people, I found my business in the quiet. That silence became her think tank. And while others were waiting for the right time, she was building hers before dawn. You've got to understand, the world is designed to distract you. Every beep, every ping, every post is trying to pull you away from yourself. But the silence of 5 a.m., that's when you come back to who you are. That's when the fog clears. That's when the plan appears. That's when the chaos of yesterday stops screaming and the purpose of tomorrow starts whispering. The greatest battles are not fought on the outside. They're fought in the mind. And silence is where that battlefield becomes manageable. Most people are so afraid of silence because they're not ready to face themselves. They'd rather drown in noise than confront the truth. But when you rise early and sit in silence, you face your fears. You examine your thoughts. You realign your focus. It's like sitting at a war table and mapping out how you're going to win. That quiet moment becomes the blueprint for bold moves. That's where you decide, I won't react today. I will respond. I will not be tossed by emotions. I will move by strategy. You can't build a future off of reactions. You need strategy. You need plans that are birthed in peace, not panic. And panic doesn't show up at 5 a.m. Strategy does. That's when the mind is sharp. That's when revelation flows. That's when your future sits across the table from you, waiting to talk. And you know what's powerful? That silence doesn't cost money. You don't need a title, a platform, or a degree to access it. You just need discipline. You just need to wake up while others are still lost in dreams and start building yours. There's a reason kings, queens, and CEOs protect their mornings. It's because strategy is sacred, and sacred things need silence. If you want to rise in life, you have to rise in your discipline. You have to stop letting noise steal your future. The wrong voice at the wrong hour can cancel the right idea, but the right silence at the right time can birth a movement. You're not behind, you're just overcrowded. You don't lack vision, you lack silence. You don't need more motivation, you need more stillness. I once met a young athlete who transformed his entire life by waking up at 5 a.m. and sitting in silence before every workout. He said it wasn't the gym that changed him, it was the meditation before the gym. That's when he saw himself succeeding. That's when he saw the fear in his mind and conquered it before he even lifted a weight. The silence was his mental warm-up. He won the fight before he entered the ring. You can't fight giants when your mind is foggy. You can't walk on water when your thoughts are drowning. The silence clears the noise so you can hear the strategy. If you want to start moving from survival to significance, you need to create space for silence, not just once a week, but daily. You need that 5 a.m. moment where you're not just awake, but aware. Where you're not just present, but powerful. Where you're not just thinking, but strategizing. Because silence doesn't just heal you. It arms you. It prepares you. It positions you. And in that positioning, your next level is revealed. Discipline over emotion is the difference between greatness and regret. Emotion is temporary, but discipline is eternal. When the alarm goes off at 5 a.m., your feelings will beg you to stay in bed. They will whisper, just 5 more minutes. They will lie to you and say, you deserve to rest a little longer. But destiny doesn't respond to how you feel. It responds to what you do. And if your life is ruled by emotion, you will only move when it's easy. You will only build when you feel motivated. But motivation fades, feelings fluctuate. Discipline is what remains when motivation dies. Every successful person you admire didn't get there because they always felt like it. They got there because they built a habit of doing it, whether they felt like it or not. Discipline says, I show up even when my body is tired. Discipline says, I push forward even when my heart is hurting. Discipline says, I stay consistent when my emotions are screaming inconsistency. And that's why winners win. They made discipline their master, and they made emotion their servant. There was a young man who wanted to become a doctor. His friends partied, watched movies, and slept until noon. But every morning, he was up before the sun, studying, reading, sacrificing. There were nights he cried, days he felt like giving up, times when his emotions said, "You'll never make it." But he didn't obey his emotions. He obeyed his discipline. 8 years later, he walked across the stage, earned his degree, and now saves lives, not because he felt like it, but because he fought through the storm of feelings with the sword of discipline. The world will always reward the disciplined. The marketplace honors the person who shows up early, not the one who complains the loudest. Even your body respects discipline. That's why athletes train in the cold, in the rain, in the pain, because they understand that success doesn't care about comfort. Emotion says, quit when it gets hard. Discipline says, push harder when it hurts. Emotion is driven by the moment. Discipline is driven by the mission. You cannot build a solid life on unstable emotions. One moment you feel unstoppable, the next you feel useless. That's the nature of emotion. One moment you're ready to change the world, and the next you can't get out of bed. That's why you can't let your feelings be the boss. Your emotions are passengers. Your discipline is the driver. Feelings will try to take detours, make you turn around, or convince you the destination isn't worth it. But discipline grips the wheel and says, we're going forward whether you like it or not. I met a woman who started waking up at 5 a.m. to write a book. She had 3 kids, a full-time job, and barely enough time for herself. There were days she was exhausted, nights she felt invisible. But every morning she sat at that desk and typed 1 page, just one. It didn't matter if she cried while typing. It didn't matter if her thoughts were cloudy. She showed up page by page, tear by tear, and a year later that book was published. Not because she felt strong, but because she was disciplined through her weakness. Discipline will take you where talent cannot keep you. You can have the gift, the charisma, the vision, but without discipline, you'll self-destruct. Talent may get you in the room, but discipline keeps you in the room when the lights dim and the applause fades. It's easy to be passionate when people are cheering, but can you still perform when no one is watching? Can you still rise at 5 a.m. when there's no one clapping, no audience, no recognition? That's the test. And the discipline pass it every time. Emotion wants instant gratification. Discipline wants term impact. Emotion says, why work out when you can scroll your phone? Discipline says, let's sweat now so we don't suffer later. Emotion says, why save money when you can splurge? Discipline says, let's invest now so we can reap later. Emotion always wants comfort now. Discipline demands growth now. You have to choose comfort or calling, pleasure or purpose, reaction or responsibility. There was a high school athlete who trained every morning at 5 a.m. His coach asked him why. He said, because I don't want to wait for the season to get serious. I want to be ready before it begins. That young man got a scholarship not because he was the fastest, but because he was the most prepared. That's the fruit of discipline. It prepares you before life demands your excellence. It positions you before opportunity knocks. It grows your roots deep so when the storms come, and they will, you don't break. You bend, but you don't break. You don't conquer your emotions by ignoring them. You conquer them by outworking them, by proving to yourself that your will is stronger than your weakness, that your purpose is louder than your pain. You don't need to feel like doing it. You just need to do it. You don't need the perfect condition. You just need a made-up mind. That's what separates the extraordinary from the average, the ability to choose discipline over emotion again and again and again. Your destiny doesn't care if you're tired. Your calling doesn't care if you're heartbroken. Your future doesn't care if you're unmotivated. But it does care if you show up anyway. If you rise when it hurts, if you commit when it's cold, if you push through when no one sees. That's where greatness is born, in the trenches of discipline, not the clouds of emotion. That's where your crown is waiting, not at the end of a feeling, but at the end of a fight. 5 a.m. is your personal boardroom. 5 a.m. is not just a time, it's a table, a sacred table where your dreams, doubts, and destiny all sit and wait for you to make a decision. It's the boardroom of your soul, and you are the CEO. But the question is, are you showing up to the meeting? Every single morning at 5 a.m., life prepares a room for you, a room where clarity speaks, purpose whispers, and strategy waits patiently. And while the world sleeps, the wise rise to attend that meeting. They understand something powerful, that breakthroughs don't happen in the noise. They happen in the silence before the noise begins. Most people don't realize how much authority they forfeit simply because they sleep through their opportunity. Life isn't unfair, it's punctual. Success doesn't show up at noon. It shows up when the distractions are still dreaming. The people who dominate their industries, lead nations, invent technologies, build empires, those people all have one thing in common. They respect their personal boardroom. They understand that before they face the world, they must first face themselves. They don't just wake up, They get up with intention. They show up with direction. Have you ever noticed that some of the greatest ideas don't come in the middle of chaos? They come in the stillness. That moment when the sun hasn't yet kissed the earth and your phone hasn't yet stolen your focus. That's the moment your mind is at its sharpest. Your spirit is most alert. Your future is most accessible. At 5 a.m., there are no meetings, no emails, no bills screaming for attention. It's just you and the whiteboard of your imagination. You can see clearly. You can think freely. That's the time to write the vision and make it plain. I remember a man who once struggled with severe depression and confusion. He had lost his job. His marriage was hanging by a thread, and he felt like life had nothing more to offer. Then one morning, without planning it, he woke up at 5 a.m. and instead of scrolling through his phone, he sat in silence, just sat. For the first time in months, he heard something in that stillness, not a loud voice, not a miracle, just a question, what do you want? That one question changed his life. Every day after that, he started meeting himself at 5 a.m., journaling, meditating, mapping out ideas, and slowly clarity returned, passion returned, his life turned not with a thunderstorm, but with a whisper in his boardroom. If you understood the power of meeting yourself daily, your excuses would disappear, because your personal boardroom is where excuses are overruled and action is approved. That's where you stop reacting to life and start directing it. You begin to ask the questions that scare you. Am I walking in purpose? Is this relationship growing me or draining me? Am I building legacy or just surviving? At 5 a.m., those answers come without filter. You can't lie to yourself in the boardroom. You can't pretend you're okay. You face it all, and then you fix it. You don't need a fancy office. You don't need a business suit. You just need a made up mind and a disciplined heart. At 5 a.m., your boardroom might be your kitchen table, your prayer corner, your car, your balcony. It doesn't matter. The room isn't defined by the location. It's defined by your level of attention. What matters is that you're present, that you're fully engaged in your own transformation. While others hit snooze, you're hitting strategy. While others are dreaming in sleep, you're dreaming awake. The people who shape the world understand that their mornings shape their minds, and their minds shape their moves. You don't need another motivational video. You need a meeting with your future, and that meeting is scheduled at 5 a.m. every single day. But if you're too tired to attend, don't blame the day for being chaotic. Blame the missed meeting. Because what you skip in the morning, you pay for in confusion throughout the day. Imagine being the CEO of a billion-dollar company, but never showing up to the morning meetings. The business would collapse. Decisions would be delayed. Vision would dry up. That's how most people live. They want success, but don't attend the meetings that success requires. They want clarity, but avoid the silence where clarity lives. Your boardroom is not optional, it's essential. That's where you realign your values. That's where you redefine your boundaries. That's where you remind yourself of your why. One woman I coached said she didn't have time in the morning. She was a single mom working 2 jobs. Life was hectic. I told her, you don't need an hour. Just give yourself 10 minutes. 10 minutes of meeting you. She tried it. 1 month later, her tone changed. Her eyes were sharper. Her thoughts were clearer. She said, I realized I had been skipping meetings with the most important person in my life, me. That shift unlocked something. She started making better decisions. Her anxiety dropped. Her confidence rose. Because the boardroom is where battles are won before the fight begins. You think the enemy attacks your finances first? No, he attacks your mornings. Because if he can keep you out of that room, he can keep you confused. But if you ever step back into it, if you ever reclaim that 5 a.m. authority, you will begin to see how much power you actually have. You'll start leading your life like a visionary, not surviving it like a victim. Because it's in that sacred hour that your spirit gets fed, your thoughts get filtered, and your life gets focused. That's where divine downloads happen. That's where ordinary people become architects of extraordinary lives. Early hours equal ownership. Early hours equal ownership. When you rise before the rest of the world, you claim dominion over your day before anyone else has a chance to place demands on you. You become the author of your own schedule, not just a responder to chaos. You stop being a slave to emergencies and become a master of order. The early morning isn't just about time, it's about territory. It's about owning the first, most sacred piece of your day and saying, this is mine. This is where I lead, not follow. This is where I decide what kind of life I will live. When you wake up at 5 a.m., you're not just beating the sun, you're beating procrastination. You're beating fear. You're beating all the noise and distractions that want to hijack your attention. In that first hour, while others are chasing the day, you're designing it. The early morning becomes your battlefield of clarity. You don't stumble into purpose, you strategize it. You don't react to life, you architect it. Ownership means refusing to let the clock own you. It means refusing to let notifications, phone calls, traffic, or tasks dictate how your day begins. Think of a pilot preparing for takeoff. Before a single passenger gets on the plane, before the engines roar, the pilot arrives early to inspect, review, and map the flight plan. Why? Because once that plane is in the air, there's no room for uncertainty. That's what waking early does. It gives you the cockpit view of your life. You get to set your coordinates before you ascend into the business. You get to ask yourself the powerful questions. What matters most today? What decisions require my boldness? What distractions must I say no to? That's ownership. That's leadership. People who don't wake early often feel like they're always running behind. It's not because they're lazy. It's because they've handed over the keys to their time. They wake up late, rush through routines, panic through traffic, and arrive at their obligations already depleted. They never had a moment to own themselves before the world owned them. But the person who wakes up early walks into the same challenges differently. Their posture is different. Their spirit is grounded. Their mind is sharp, not because they had more time, but because they claimed time before it was taken. I knew a young entrepreneur who used to complain that he never had time to work on his dreams. "I'm too busy putting out fires," he said. "By the time I get home, I'm exhausted." So I challenged him, "Own your morning and you'll take back your life." He started waking up at 5 a.m., not for emails, not for chores, but for vision time. Every morning, he journaled, reviewed his goals, built his ideas brick by brick. And guess what? Within 6 months, that side hustle became his main income. Not because he had more talent, but because he took ownership of the one thing we all have equally time. Ownership at 5 a.m. is a declaration of war against mediocrity. It says, I refuse to live on autopilot. It says, I won't let anxiety be the architect of my calendar. It says, I don't need someone to tell me what to do. I know why I'm here. You take control of your energy. You take authority over your environment. You manage your mindset. You become the landlord of your own mind, evicting every thought that doesn't serve your assignment. There's something spiritual about waking up before the world does. It's quiet, it's sacred. It's like the earth hasn't started breathing yet. And in that silence, you get to hear your true self. You remember who you are. You reconnect with your core values. You realign your inner compass. That hour becomes your sanctuary. No bosses, no noise, no demands, just ownership. And when you own your soul in the morning, you don't sell it to stress in the afternoon. The world is loud, aggressive, and always urgent. But when you take ownership early, you decide what's urgent and what's noise. You create a boundary before the world starts pulling you in every direction. And that boundary creates power, not arrogance, inner peace. You move through your day with the quiet confidence of someone who met their destiny before breakfast. You're not looking for direction. You already received it in the stillness. I once spoke to a woman who started a bakery out of her kitchen. Every morning, she woke up at 40:30, prayed, planned, and baked. People laughed at her, said she was doing too much. But what they didn't see was that 5 a.m. wasn't just about baking, it was about building. She was building courage, building discipline, building a future. 5 years later, her bakery now employs 20 people, and she says, I still wake up before the sun because that's when I remember why I started. That's the voice of ownership. And if you're tired of feeling behind, overwhelmed, stuck in cycles of just surviving, maybe it's time to reclaim your morning, because the truth is, success doesn't start with a breakthrough. It starts with a decision to lead yourself before you try to lead anything else, a decision to stop waiting for the perfect moment and instead create the moment. Ownership says, I don't need permission. I don't need motivation. I need movement. And that movement begins when the rest of the world is still asleep. Ownership is not loud. It doesn't beg for attention, but its results, they speak louder than any alarm ever could. Mental reset and renewal is not a luxury. It is a necessity in a world that bombards your mind with noise, distractions, anxieties. Your ability to think clearly is not automatic. It must be protected, restored, and recharged. The mind is like a battlefield, and each day you go to war against doubt, fear, confusion, deadlines, responsibilities, and the expectations of others. Without a reset, your thoughts become cluttered, your vision becomes foggy, and your spirit becomes tired. But the person who masters the morning understands this truth. The reset doesn't happen in the chaos, it happens in the calm. And the calm begins at 5 a.m. There's a reason why some of the most powerful leaders in history cherished early mornings. It's not just about being productive, it's about being present with your own mind before the world tries to hijack it. Think of your brain like a computer. After days, weeks, and months of running without a restart, it slows down. Glitches happen. Memory is blocked. The system crashes. But what happens when you shut it down, clear the memory, and reboot? Speed returns. Focus sharpens. The system runs smoothly. That's what a mental reset does to your life. It brings back order to the mind. I once knew a man who was a high-level executive. From the outside, he looked like he had it all: money, power, status. But on the inside, he was mentally exhausted. He couldn't think straight. Every day felt like he was drowning. Until one morning, out of pure frustration, he woke up at 5 a.m., went for a walk, and just breathed. No phone, no podcast, no noise, just him in the silence. And in that moment, he realized something. He had been filling every hour of his day with other people's voices, but never took time to listen to his own. That 1 hour of stillness became his mental sanctuary. He kept doing it. Slowly, his decisions became clearer. His anxiety dropped. He became powerful again because he reset his mind daily, not occasionally. The problem with many people isn't that they don't have the right tools, it's that their tools are buried under mental clutter. Imagine trying to find something in a house where everything is scattered, drawers are overflowing, you can't see the floor. That's how most people's minds look by 10 a.m. Thoughts are scrambled. Emotions are scattered, and they wonder why they can't focus, why they keep forgetting things, why they feel paralyzed. The reason is simple: no reset. But when you wake up early and sit in silence, meditate, pray, journal, or just breathe, you declutter the house of your mind, you sweep away the dust of stress, you open the windows of imagination, you reorganize your priorities. That's not laziness, that's warfare. That's how you prepare to dominate the day. Mental renewal is the discipline of letting go. You can't start today if your mind is still carrying the weight of yesterday. You can't walk in confidence if your mind is clouded with fear. Renewal means confronting the lies that have lived rent-free in your head. It means breaking the replay loop of shame and doubt. And the best time to do that is when the world is still. At 5 a.m., your mind is most honest. You don't have to perform. You don't have to impress. You just sit and face yourself. And in that confrontation, healing begins. One of the most dangerous things in life is a cluttered mind with no clarity. Because when you don't reset your thoughts, you start making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. You start reacting instead of responding. You start surviving instead of living. But when you take time every morning to renew your thoughts, you become your own therapist, your own coach, your own motivator. You don't wait for someone else to give you peace. You create it. I remember talking to a mother of 4 who said she used to wake up already tired. Her kids needed her, but she had nothing left to give until she decided to give herself the first 30 minutes of the day, just 30 minutes before the demands began. She lit a candle, made tea, sat in silence, and wrote whatever was on her heart. Some mornings she cried, other mornings she prayed, but she said something that stuck with me. That time saved my mind. Her home didn't change. Her responsibilities didn't disappear, but she changed. Her spirit became resilient. Her thoughts became organized. Her tone with her children softened. Her ability to lead expanded. All because she renewed herself before the day consumed her. Your mind is your headquarters. If it's weak, every part of your life suffers. Your relationships, your finances, your health, all of it flows from your mindset. And if you don't reset, the toxic thoughts will multiply. You'll find yourself stuck in cycles of negativity and self-doubt. But at 5 a.m., you break the cycle. You interrupt the noise. You install new beliefs. You remind yourself of your identity. You don't wait for motivation. You speak it over yourself. You don't wait for peace. You breathe it in. You don't wait for clarity. You create space for it to enter. That's what mental renewal looks like, choosing stillness in a world that screams for speed. People who master the mental reset know that success isn't always about doing more. It's about thinking better. You don't need another hustle tip. You need a clear mind. You need a rested soul. You need a focused heart. And that happens when you give yourself the greatest gift you could ever offer: presence. Not presence on a screen, not presence in a meeting, presence with your own spirit, presence with your creator, presence with your purpose. In that presence, power returns, direction returns. And suddenly, the mountain that seemed overwhelming becomes a staircase you can climb. Not because the problem changed, but because you renewed the one thing that gives you the strength to face it: your mind. Productivity is a morning decision. Productivity is not a random act. It's a deliberate decision made long before the world wakes up. The people you admire, the ones who move mountains, break records, and dominate industries, are not more talented than you. They're just more intentional. And their intention starts when the world is asleep. Productivity is not just about ticking off tasks on a to-do list. It's about maximizing your energy, aligning with your purpose, and commanding the direction of your day. That power begins at 5 a.m. It's the hour of decision. It's where you choose your mindset before the world chooses it for you. You see, most people wake up reacting. They react to alarms, to social media, to news, to demands, to emergencies. But the person who wakes up at 5 a.m. is not reacting. They are creating. They are deciding what their mind will consume, what their body will do, and what their spirit will focus on. That's not ordinary living. That's leadership. That's kingdom dominion over chaos. I remember speaking to a young man who told me, Dr. Munroe, I feel like I'm always behind. No matter how hard I try, the day controls me. And I said to him, son, you're not late because you're slow. You're late because you start too late. Productivity is not about racing. It's about rising before the race begins. When you get up at 5 a.m., you are ahead of the noise. You are ahead of the drama. You are ahead of the distractions. While others are hitting snooze, you're activating destiny. While others are scrolling, you're strategizing. While others are dreaming, you're building. That's how successful people win. They decide early that their purpose is more important than their comfort. Productivity is a mindset before it becomes a result. Don't be fooled by busy people. They're not always productive. Some are just spinning in circles with no direction. But true productivity is not motion, it's momentum. And momentum is built when your morning is sacred. You don't stumble into greatness, you schedule it. You don't find time for purpose, you carve time for it, and the carving starts when your phone is silent and the world hasn't demanded your attention yet. That is the power of 5 a.m. It gives you the authority to command your day before the world invades it. You ever notice how a builder studies blueprints before touching a single tool? Because the foundation is more important than the speed of building. That's how your day should be approached. Productivity starts with a blueprint, not a panic. And your blueprint should be written while the sun is still deciding whether to rise. That's where focus is forged. That's where your mind is clear, your energy is pure, and your vision is fresh. Let me make it plain, a chaotic day is often the result of a careless morning. A scattered mind by noon is often the product of a late wake up and an aimless start. You cannot expect excellence if your beginning is accidental. If you roll out of bed at 8:30 a.m. with notifications already screaming and your head full of fog, you've already lost momentum. But if you rise at 5 a.m. and your first hour is spent in clarity, meditation, planning, goal setting, health rituals, you've already won before breakfast. And that win becomes a seed. That seed becomes a tree. And that tree bears fruit called results. I spoke with a single mother who works 2 jobs and still wakes up at 5 a.m. I asked her why, and she said, "Because this hour is the only time I have that the world hasn't taken from me." That's powerful. She doesn't own a company, but she owns her morning. And that ownership gives her strength, stability, and confidence to handle everything else that comes. Some people wait until life slows down to get productive. But the truth is, life rarely slows down. You must learn to steal time for your future. That stolen hour at 5 a.m. is not a sacrifice, it's a strategy. Every morning, you are either feeding your dreams or feeding your distractions. The phone is not your friend in the first hour. Emails are not your emergency. Notifications are not your North Star. The first hour belongs to vision, belongs to prayer, belongs to journaling, belongs to you. Because when you give your first energy to things that matter, everything else aligns. Decisions are easier, goals are clearer, interruptions are less powerful. Why? Because you decided what mattered before the world offered its opinions. Don't let the world design your day, design it yourself. A productive person doesn't chase tasks, they align with purpose. And that purpose is birthed in quiet moments before the chaos comes knocking. The 5 a.m. hour is not just about discipline, it's about dominion. It's where you tell your body, we're not led by laziness. You tell your mind, we're not ruled by confusion. You tell your emotions, you don't control our direction. That kind of internal conversation is what successful people have before most people even open their eyes. Listen, your productivity is not a gift, it's a weapon. And if you don't wield it early, life will dull your edge. Every morning you get up early, you sharpen that weapon. Every time you beat the alarm, you prove to yourself that discipline is your DNA. Every time you plan your priorities, you make an announcement to the world, I am not here to exist. I am here to execute. Productivity is not just about goals, it's about legacy. It's not about tasks, it's about trajectory. And the earlier you start your journey each day, the further you will go. The man or woman who owns their morning will one day own their future. Not because life gave them a better hand, but because they decided to play their hand better while everyone else was still sleeping on theirs. Sacrifice is the secret sauce. Sacrifice is the secret sauce of every great destiny. You don't get to rise without giving something up. You don't climb to the top by carrying everything from the bottom. Success demands a trade, and that trade often comes at a time when nobody is watching, clapping, or understanding. Sacrifice means telling yourself, I will give up what I want now for what I need later. That's the real language of champions. The difference between average people and impactful people is not talent, it's sacrifice. Everyone wants to be great, but not everyone is willing to lose sleep, cut off distractions, and deny comfort to build consistency. There's something sacred about sacrifice. You look at any world changer, an inventor, a leader, a visionary, and behind their spotlight is a season of surrender. While others were partying, they were planning. While others were scrolling, they were studying. While others were complaining, they were creating. That's not luck, that's sacrifice. You can't complain about results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. Sacrifice is waking up at 5 a.m. when your body says sleep, but your purpose says rise. It's saying no to Netflix because your future is worth more than 2 hours of entertainment. It's deleting apps that steal your focus and replacing them with books that build your discipline. That's not punishment, it's positioning. You must understand, every IS to success requires a no to something else. You don't get to keep your comfort zone and grow. Growth is uncomfortable because it pulls you away from familiar things. It forces you to give up habits that feel good but produce nothing. It demands you end conversations that drain your energy, disconnect from circles that slow your speed, and walk away from habits that feed your weakness. That's what makes sacrifice feel painful. It's the death of excuses and the birth of progress. Let me make it real for you. A young woman once told me she wanted to become a doctor. I said, "Are you ready to sacrifice?" She said, "Yes, But 6 months later, she started skipping study to go out with friends, missing morning classes to sleep in, and ignoring her long-term goal for short-term pleasures. She came back to me and said, "It's harder than I thought." And I said, "No, it's not harder. It just costs more than you were willing to pay. Dreams are expensive. Success is expensive. That's why sacrifice is the currency. You can't negotiate with purpose. Purpose only honors full payment. You see, sacrifice is proof of desire. If you really want it, you'll give something up for it. If it matters to you, your actions will show it. It's not what you post about that tells the truth. It's what you're willing to suffer in silence for. Anybody can talk. Anybody can make vision boards and declarations. But only the serious will wake up earlier, study harder, practice longer, and stay focused while the rest are distracted. Sacrifice is what separates the talkers from the doers. It's what turns a wish into a reality. A man once told me, "Dr. Munroe, I'm trying everything and it's not working." I asked him, "What have you sacrificed?" He said, "Nothing major yet." And I looked him in the eye and said, "Then you're not trying everything. Because until you've cut out something that matters to you, you haven't stepped into the fire of transformation. You're still in the comfort zone, and nothing great grows there. Even farmers understand this principle. Before they reap a harvest, they have to sacrifice good seed. They don't eat all the grain. They put the best of it into the soil. That's not waste, it's wisdom. That seed, when buried, when forgotten, when watered with consistency, produces a harvest they could never achieve by holding on to it. In the same way, your time is your seed. Your energy is your seed. Your focus is your seed. What are you planting every morning at 5 a.m.? Are you sowing into your goals, your health, your growth? Or are you keeping your seed because you're afraid to be uncomfortable? Sacrifice is never easy, but it's always worth it. It's the quiet foundation under every loud success. When people see you winning later, they won't understand the lonely hours, the missed calls, the quiet tears, the tired mornings, the social isolation. But you will, and that's all that matters. Your reward is not in their applause, it's in your achievement. A young man once told me, "My friends don't get why I'm not hanging out anymore." And I said, that's how you know you're on the right path. Because when sacrifice begins, misunderstanding follows. People won't understand your discipline. They won't understand why you wake up so early, why you've cut down your screen time, why you've changed your environment. That's okay. You're not building for them. You're building for destiny. Let them talk while you work. Let them doubt while you grow. Let them laugh while you sacrifice. Because the day will come when your results will speak louder than their questions. The truth is, if you want something you've never had, you must do something you've never done. And that doing always includes giving something up. The version of you that's coming cannot coexist with the version of you that's comfortable. One of them has to go. Sacrifice is how you decide which one. Will you let go of what's easy to grab hold of what's extraordinary? Will you lay down distraction, delay, and doubt so that you can rise in direction, discipline, and dominion? Because that's where the great ones live, in the tension between what they gave up and what they're reaching for. That tension is what sharpens you, matures you, and promotes you. That tension is the place where history is made. That tension is sacrifice. You attract what you become, you attract what you become. Life is not a mirror of your wishes, it is a mirror of your identity. The energy you give off, the thoughts you entertain, the values you live by, they become magnets pulling people, opportunities, and outcomes into your life. You can't cry out for peace while nurturing chaos in your mind. You can't pray for abundance while operating in a mindset of scarcity. You can't beg for love while carrying bitterness in your spirit. Who you are becoming speaks louder than anything you say, and the world listens to your vibration, not just your voice. Every morning when you wake up, you are broadcasting something. You are radiating a message, not through words, but through your character. If you wake up full of resentment, frustration, or laziness, that becomes the message the world receives from you. That becomes the climate you walk in. And what you radiate, consciously or unconsciously, you begin to pull into your life. That's why some people can't seem to escape negativity, drama, or failure. It's not because they're cursed. It's because they've become a magnet for the very things they're trying to avoid. Your mindset is a signal tower. If you carry the frequency of a victim, you will keep attracting situations that make you feel powerless. If you carry the energy of fear, your life will shrink to accommodate it. But if you rise each day with gratitude, confidence, and purpose, watch how life starts bowing in your favor. Watch how doors open, not because you forced them, because you became the kind of person those doors were built for. The truth is, God doesn't give us what we ask for. He gives us what we're prepared to handle. That's why the process of becoming is so important. You don't attract what you wish. You attract what you are. A young man once told me, "Dr. Munroe, I want a wife who is powerful, prayerful, intelligent, and stable." I asked him, "Are you becoming the man that such a woman would be attracted to?" He went silent, because that's the hard truth. We want what we are not becoming. We want friends who are loyal while we still gossip. We want mentors while we remain unteachable. We want wealth while we maintain poor habits. You don't get what you admire, you get what you mirror. Look at nature. Bees are attracted to flowers, not because the flower chases them, but because the flower emits what bees are designed to seek. The flower just becomes vibrant, open, still fragrant. It stands in its beauty, and the right things are drawn to it. In the same way, when you commit to becoming stable in mind, clean in heart, excellent in work, consistent in effort, you don't need to chase favor. Favor finds you. Right people find you. Right opportunities recognize you. And wrong things can't stay near you because they're not aligned with what you've become. Every decision you make shapes your attraction. If you choose discipline, you start attracting results. If you choose integrity, you start attracting trust. If you choose vision, you start attracting clarity. This is not magic, it's alignment. A confused life attracts confusion. A focused life attracts progress. A cluttered spirit attracts distractions. A healed heart attracts healing environments. The law is this: your life rises or falls to the level of your internal standards. Many people are frustrated because their prayers aren't being answered, but they're still thinking like the person who broke everything. They're asking for rain, but carrying a bucket full of holes. That's why the change must begin with who you are. You can't ask to be blessed at a new level while behaving like your old self. Growth doesn't come through wishing, it comes through working. You must become the version of you that your destiny demands. You must become the person your goals are designed for. And when you do, you won't need to force things. They will come because you are finally ready. I met a woman who always attracted toxic relationships. She said, I keep ending up with the same kind of man. I told her, it's not the man. It's the message you're sending by what you tolerate. You see, people treat you according to the standards you carry. If you don't love yourself deeply, you will keep inviting people who reflect your insecurity. But when you grow, when you heal, when you shift from desperation to identity, the game changes. The room gets quiet. The wrong people get uncomfortable. And suddenly, you find yourself attracting what your healed self deserves. This is why your private transformation is more powerful than your public declaration. You can't post your way into peace. You can't hashtag your way into purpose. You have to become in silence, in early mornings, in private decisions, in hard conversations with yourself. And as you do, your life starts to echo something different. And that echo determines your environment. Don't focus on chasing, focus on becoming. Don't focus on proving, focus on improving. Don't focus on being liked. Focus on being aligned. Because you don't get what you want, you get what you are. Your future is hidden in your routine. Your future is hidden in your routine. This is a truth so powerful yet so overlooked. The choices you make every single day, minute by minute, are the building blocks of your tomorrow. Not the grand gestures, not the one-time miracles, but the small, consistent acts that shape your character, discipline, and destiny. When you rise at 5 a.m., you're not just waking up early, you are programming your future to be one of success, growth, and victory. Because your routine is not just what you do, it's who you become. Imagine two people with the same dream. Both want to build a thriving business to be financially free, to live a life of purpose. One wakes up at 5 a.m., reads for an hour, plans the day, exercises, and then starts work with clarity and energy. The other sleeps until noon, checks social media endlessly, procrastinates, and rushes through the day overwhelmed. Who do you think will be closer to their dream in 1 year? The answer is obvious. Your routine is the silent architect of your destiny. The small habits you do daily either erect a monument or build a prison. Routine is the framework of discipline. Discipline is not some magical trait that only a few have. It's the product of repeated, intentional actions. When you make waking up at 5 a.m. a habit, you are training your mind and body to operate on a higher level. You're telling yourself, I am someone who values time more than comfort. And that declaration changes everything. Because when your routine says, I am committed, your future listens and responds accordingly. Consider the example of a farmer who wakes before dawn, tending to his fields every day. The farmer doesn't expect a harvest from just one day of work. It is the consistent care, the daily watering, the removal of weeds, the attention to detail over weeks and months that produce fruit. The farmer's routine is what guarantees the harvest. So it is with you. What you do every day, your thoughts, your actions, your habits are the seeds you plant. The routine you keep waters those seeds, and your future is the harvest that comes. There is a story of a young athlete who dreamed of Olympic gold. She wasn't the fastest or the strongest when she started, but what separated her was her routine. While others rested or went out at night, she woke up at 5 a.m. every day to train. That routine built her stamina, her strength, and her mind. Day after day, month after month, the routine sculpted her into a champion. Her success was not a surprise. It was the inevitable result of her daily choices. Your routine also shapes your mindset. If you start each day with distractions, endless scrolling, negative news, complaining, you program your mind for defeat. But if you start each day with intention, prayer, meditation, planning, gratitude, you program your mind for victory. Your routine determines whether you wake up with hope or dread, energy or exhaustion, focus or confusion. And that mental state is what fuels your actions and results. Sometimes people say, but the truth is, time is the great equalizer. Everyone has 24 hours. What separates winners is how they use their hours. When you make waking at 5 a.m. a routine, you create hours that others lose. You create space for growth, creativity, and preparation. Those early hours become your secret weapon. That is why so many successful people talk about the power of the morning, because it's in that quiet, disciplined space that greatness is born. Let me tell you about a man who changed his life simply by changing his routine. He used to complain about never having enough time or energy. One day, he committed to waking at 5 a.m. The first week was hard. His body protested, his mind resisted, but he persisted. He used those early hours to read, exercise, and plan his goals. Within months, his energy soared, his focus sharpened, and his productivity doubled. His career advanced, his relationships improved, and his confidence grew. His future was no longer a vague hope, but a visible reality because he rewired his routine. Your routine is also the foundation of your integrity. When you show up for yourself every day at 5 a.m., you are proving that you can be trusted with your own life. That trust spills into every other area, your work, your family, your commitments. Integrity is born from consistency. Without a solid routine, your word to yourself and others becomes weak. But when your routine is strong, you become unshakable. People begin to rely on you, opportunities start to follow you, and doors open effortlessly. It's important to realize that your routine doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be persistent. Every day you choose to wake early, even when it's hard, you're making a deposit in the bank of your future. Even small wins compound over time. Like a snowball rolling downhill, your consistent efforts build momentum that propels you faster and further than you imagined. Don't underestimate the power of routine, because it is the force that carries you from where you are now to where you want to be. There's a powerful saying, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. That is the essence of routine. It's not about one big leap, it's about many small steps. When you wake at 5 a.m., you take control of your day before distractions and demands arrive. You align your mind, body, and spirit toward your goals. You give yourself the gift of time that nobody can take away. Your routine is your legacy in motion. Remember, your future is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. The choices you make in your daily routine decide the quality of your life. What you do every morning sets the tone for your entire day. If you want a future filled with success, health, joy, and influence, then you must craft a routine that reflects those desires. It is in those early, disciplined hours that you unlock your potential, sharpen your focus, and lay the foundation for the life you deserve. As we come to the close of this journey through the power of 5 a.m., remember this greatness is never accidental. It is a deliberate choice, a daily commitment, a battle won in the quiet moments when the world is still asleep and your soul is wide awake. Success is not gifted. It is earned in the discipline of showing up when others are resting, in the persistence to do what others won't, and in the courage to break free from the chains of comfort and mediocrity. The 5 a.m. habit is more than just a time on the clock. It is a declaration to the universe that you are ready to win, ready to rise above, ready to be the architect of your own destiny. You have heard the words of great men and women who have shaped history with their habits and mindsets. Winston Churchill once said, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Rising early is an act of courage, a bold refusal to be defeated by laziness, distractions, or excuses. It is in that sacred time that you build resilience, that you gather strength for the battles ahead. The world may sleep, but your dreams cannot wait. So you rise and you fight, you prepare, you conquer. Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, taught us that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But conception and belief alone are not enough. You must act. And the first act each day starts when the alarm breaks the silence of the early morning. The mind is clearest then, distractions are fewest. This is your fertile ground for planting seeds of success through focus, planning, and discipline. If you don't claim these hours, someone else will, and you'll find yourself chasing what could have been yours. Remember the words of Zig Ziglar, people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. Motivation is not a one-time spark. It is a flame that must be tended every single day. The 5 a.m. routine is the water that keeps that fire burning. It fuels your passion, sharpens your focus, and ignites your willpower. It is your daily renewal, your sacred ritual that transforms dreams into plans and plans into reality. You have the power to rewrite your story. You are not bound by your past mistakes, your fears, or the limitations others place on you. Maya Angelou reminded us, we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. Each morning you rise early, you defeat the voice that says, not today, sleep in. Rest. You silence the inner critic that whispers doubt. You stand firm and declare that your destiny is greater than your excuses. And when you keep showing up, when you keep choosing discipline over comfort, your life begins to reflect the greatness within you. Consider the wisdom of Jim Rohn, who said, Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. That bridge is built with the bricks of your daily routine. The 5 a.m. hour is the cornerstone. It is where dreams take shape and ambitions find their legs. Without discipline, goals remain fantasies. With it, they become inevitable realities. Your commitment to this hour is your commitment to yourself, to your potential, your vision, and your legacy. So as you prepare to take this message into your life, remember you are not just waking up early. You are waking up to your purpose. You are stepping into a rhythm that champions success. You are answering the call to excellence. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra, the willingness to rise before the sun, to labor when others lounge, to fight when others flee. This is your moment to shine. Your moment to break free from the chains of procrastination and fear. Your moment to take control of your life like never before. Napoleon Bonaparte said it best, victory belongs to the most persevering. Persevere in your early mornings. Persevere in your discipline. Persevere in your dreams. And victory will not be a stranger, but a faithful companion. Now, go forth with the fire of purpose burning in your heart. Let the quiet of the early morning be your battleground and your sanctuary. Every sunrise is an invitation, a chance to start anew, to grow stronger, to be better than you were yesterday. The power of 5 a.m. is the power of transformation, the power to shape your destiny one dawn at a time, the power to win every day. This is your time, your life. Rise and claim it.